Welcome to Perfect Specimen. Think we're going back to Perfect Specimen because we unlocked it all. We're jumping between Perfect Specimen Show, but we got our
I-
iTunes account back, so
We're so back, baby.
we're so back. Episode 5. It's been a interesting week. It feels like there's more airplane crashes than usual. I don't know about you, but it seems like
Dude,
there's a crash every friggin' week.
2025 is the year of being terrified to fly on an airplane.
I know, man. And we're talking about at work, and of course the conspiracy theories come out, and I think we figured it out. It was the aluminum and steel tariffs.
And
So
Canada's just
the more planes that crash, the more they have to make. So they're making more money because it costs more, and so they charge more. That's what we've come up with. That's what free firefighters are talking about in their
that's
spare time.
that's how firefighters solve world problems.
Yeah.
Is really getting to the root cause of these issues at the kitchen table.
Yeah, exactly. It's that was a crazy one. Did you see some of the video from that?
It was wild. Like it looked like it just was coming in hot, like nosedive pretty much into the tarmac.
Yeah, it
Like,
was strange. And it looks like just the wheels just collapsed on the back end. I don't know if you saw the
yeah,
outside one, but it's just like it just gave out and then it
yeah,
just buckles. And I didn't think a wing could rip off like that. Like I
yeah,
thought they were supposed to be on there and like even if it dives hard, like you see other plane crashes, the wings stay on. You know, that's just
yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
sheared straight off.
Yeah, it looked like I don't know if it was like a landing gear failure or if it was something to do with they weren't slowing the plane down properly. But
Mm,
man,
just
like
coming in
that,
hot.
I think a crosswind is what I read as well.
Yeah.
But can you imagine being a passenger like going in for a landing? Like, did they have warning or was it just like,
I don't know. I probably not. Like, because I heard that. Did you hear the radio comms, like the air traffic
no, I
control?
didn't hear that.
So it's like, yeah, blah blah blah, Delta coming in for landing, and then all of a sudden you hear from the plane behind, it's like, yeah, we have a crash on the tarmac, blah 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 blah, and like it's just like as calm as could be, like, yeah, there's a crash, we can't land, and they just like take off. And
Unreal.
so I think they had no warning. All of a sudden they're fucking upside down in an airplane, like
Yeah, yeah.
utter
I, I
chaos.
I think it's also funny if you're an airport firefighter.
Yeah,
Like, you don't see a ton of action,
no,
but then all of a sudden when there's action, you're like, "Boys, it's real. Let's go."
yeah.
Like, it's gotta be weird. You might have what? Like, how often do you have a plane crash in your tarmac?
Oh,
On every few years, you might have a big situation, you
yeah,
know?
nothing huge. Like I remember them talking about the Calgary airport. There's pictures all over the wall of like different airplane crashes and stuff.
Mm.
Apparently, it's just the same crash because they only had one, right? Like,
Yes.
is it just the one? Like I would say every 10 years you have like a massive one, if that. And it's like,
Yeah.
yeah,
That'd be like us in the fire hall just having the same house fire all over.
yeah, oh yeah, yeah. Like
Yeah.
you're not practice, like you train, but until you get the actual thing, like that's
Mhm.
crazy. The
Yeah.
funniest I found was, well, it's not fun. It is kind of funny, but from inside, there's a video of the person leaving, and you just
Oh,
hear
yeah.
like the stewardess be like, "Leave your bags, leave your bags." You know how they tell you that, like,
Yeah.
"Leave your shit on
Yeah.
board if you crash." It's like, fuck
Yeah.
you. Like, I'm bringing my iPad, I'm bringing my passport. Like, get
Yeah.
fucked.
Yeah, I'm grabbing my shit and getting off here.
Yeah.
That's so funny. They're like, "Put your phone down. Stop recording."
Did you see the firefighters bailing out of that video?
No, I didn't see that. It's the
So
same incident?
yeah. I'll link it in the video format of this, but they've cleared the plane, and I guess I'm no aircraft specialist, but you'd probably have to like get firefighters in there, do your primary, make sure nobody's in there, right?
Yeah, yeah,
And you don't see flames initially because I think it's on the other side because the video is showing the side with the wing missing.
yeah, yeah.
So all of a sudden you see this firefighter just kind of bail out, and it's pretty high. It's probably like 6 feet. They just like barrel roll out and they just start running. And you see the firefighter behind, they bail out and like they're struggling to get up. So the other one runs back, lifts them up. All of a sudden you see flames just shoot from underneath the fuselage and just into the other side. And you see foam being hammered on from all sides. And just like firefighters running in to drag that out. Like it was just, I can't
Chaos.
imagine, man. Like it's different being in a house fire when you have a hand line. These guys are just in there and like waiting for the bomb to blow up. Like
Yeah, that's it. That's
crazy.
the fuel load there is substantially more. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I wonder how they like they're upside down. Like I wonder how they get out of their seats. They just like fall on, like, unbuckle and fall on the roof in there. Like
I guess, man, like, is there a graceful way to do that? I just have, like,
yeah,
a handstand. You have Granny just, like, trying to
yeah,
handstand.
yeah. Imagine Granny upside down. Like
God.
Nana, Nana, come on.
Nana, no.
Nana, no.
I
Nana, what are
broke
you
my
doing?
hip. Yeah.
yeah,
It's crazy that everybody
crazy.
survived that too, like, that's the nuts part, is that I
Yeah,
think it was 18 injuries or probably a little bit over that now, but everybody survived that thing.
I've kind of
Just
wondered, like in Canada and in North America, we're a very flight centric population. In
yeah.
Europe, they're more on trains. They're not really flying too much. And I was having these conversations just about. I feel like it's time for us to develop our railroad system
Mm,
in our country. Like that would be so cool, being able to have like a 300 kilometer an hour train
yeah,
across our country, and it
like
would
high-speed train.
yeah, be
That'd be
wicked,
sick.
right?
Yeah, actually, because it'd just be so much easier to move around. Because they talked about the high-speed one from where is it, Calgary to Edmonton, and
Hmm.
that'd be sick too, even just, like, an hour train here to there, like, rips past. Like, because
Yeah,
what? The flight is an hour by the time you're up, landing, then you have the boarding, everything else, like, it's probably 3 hours, so it's the same as driving.
yeah.
If you have a train system, that'd be optimal.
Maybe we need to bring back blimps. Just float.
Blimps, a
We'll
blimp,
just float,
a Zeppelin.
float to Edmonton.
Chinooks would just take them, be like, "Oh, no, now we're in the US. Get out
Oh, shoot. Oh, jeez, I'm in Guatemala. Yeah.
Uh,
Oh,
the the California wildfires, have you seen some of that aftermath now? It's been a while. I guess it's been probably what has it been, a month now since that happened?
yeah,
Something like that?
yeah,
That was crazy,
neighborhoods
man.
gone. Yeah, it was crazy.
Yeah. You
Good.
you just don't I don't know. You see it from up here in Canada and, like, the always happened to Fort Mac, Slave Lake, just the way that it rolls through, and I don't know. It's kind of funny. I was talking to the guys at the hall about it the other day, and people get pissed off that the firefighters aren't, like, able to save the houses and
Mhm,
save the like, I don't think they understand. It's basically like if a tsunami is coming, expecting the
mhm.
firefighters to lay out or, like, whoever to lay out sandbags to stop the tsunami, like,
Yeah,
sure, you
yeah,
can mitigate a little bit of
yeah.
damage, but that fucker's coming, like, you're
Well,
not
people
stopping.
are so upset, like, they're like, "There was no water, there was no water." Again, to that analogy, it'd be like, "Where's the sand?" It's like, yeah,
Yeah.
like, what do you mean?
Yeah, like, you're not doing anything, like, they had the bombers, they got that in, and it's just yeah, I the craziest is the chief did you see the press conference where the chief just got lit up? Oh, no, it was the mayor for cutting spending to fire?
Mhm, mhm,
What do you
yeah.
think? Like, how do you feel that you cut this much, this much, this much, and they just got lit up, and she just has
Yeah.
no response? It's like, what
Yeah,
the sh
oh, it's obscene. I mean, the thing is that people don't need firefighters when they don't need them, and then when
Yeah,
they do need them, they really need them, and that's why we exist. And I think when you haven't had a big
mhm,
emergency in your city, it's very easy for complacency of a city council or a mayor to think like, well, firefighters spend money. We don't bring in revenue. We spend money.
yeah,
But you don't know when these instances are going to happen. And when they do happen, you need the manpower, you need the training, you need the resources. To say that if they were fully staffed, they could have prevented all houses from going up, obviously that's ridiculous.
yeah,
They could have done more than they did for sure, and they
yeah,
could have done it safer and more effectively. But I think every fire department across the country is facing sort of the same situation. Have you seen the documentary Burn in Detroit?
yeah, yeah, that was
Yeah,
crazy.
that's kind of the far other end of it, of what happens when firefighters' gear is being held together with duct tape, and their trucks are being held together with duct tape, and like that's the far end of it.
Yeah,
And then you have some departments that are really well funded, and so yeah, it's a crazy situation.
yeah.
Yeah,
It's interesting too, just seeing, like, how would you feel if you're in that neighborhood and, like, your house survives? Obviously, you're grateful for that, and then just devastation all around you. Like, that's gotta be hard to go back to your home and just see that and, like, everything, your neighbors, what you grew up
yeah,
with, just gone,
yeah,
right?
yeah. That would be hard. I know some people were very proactive because I don't think they saw the situation building. They saw how dry everything was. They knew that there wasn't the manpower. They knew that there was a disaster waiting to happen. right?
Mhm.
And it's all these factors. Obviously, if you have enough of these factors, the weather, the lack of water, the lack of resources, um, some people saw that and they kind of set up their own systems. There were houses that had their own sprinkler systems all on the roofs, and they stayed and they wet everything down, and they saved their house.
Yeah.
And yeah, that'd be hard. You look at your neighbors and everything they have is gone, and your house is standing, and it's like, is that home for you anymore when your whole community is gone?
It's
It's hard to say,
peaceful, I
right?
guess. I don't know, like, it's the
Yeah,
person just like, "Fuck, I hate my neighbors. Good thing they're
yeah.
out."
There's one guy that's just so happy, like he's
He's like,
just
"Yeah."
total recluse. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's a tough
Well, the
one.
other you were kind of talking like the other response that was had from the mayor. Like there was a big online controversy over their diversity stuff,
Yeah.
right? And what their priorities were as a fire service, and whether their priorities were diversity or was it to be the best that they could be.
Yeah, and it's interesting because the like, tragedy brings out all this stuff to light, right? And you saw this what was her title? Chief Diversity Inclusion Officer or some shit like that,
Hmm.
and she makes, like, 400K a year, and their whole pitch was, "You wanna be rescued by someone that looks like you, and if you if you fell and you need rescuing, well, you shouldn't have got yourself in that situation."
You
Like,
shouldn't have been in that situation.
the fuck is that? That's
That's our
insanity.
literally our job is to go
Yeah.
into bad
Ugh,
situations that people shouldn't be in. That's why we're going there.
yeah.
It's because yeah, they shouldn't be in that situation. We're gonna go get them.
It's crazy, man. Like,
Yeah,
I
that
think
was
there
a
needs to be
crazy
a
day.
standard, and everybody needs to be held accountable for that standard, and once you start to lower that just to get more numbers in, like,
Yeah,
what are you
yeah,
doing that? You're not doing that for the people anymore. Like,
yeah,
you're putting their
yeah,
lives at risk by doing that. It should be the best person qualified for that, period, in my
yeah.
opinion.
And so it's kind of like the argument that is presented at the other side is like, well, if you want more diversity in your fire service and you want more women in your fire service, then you just need to get them in the fire service, and that will inspire more people to join the fire service. But I think the better way to do it is you keep your standard high, and then you can have programs. Like we have a program in our department where we had a week program. We brought women in. They're teenage girls, and they came in. They got to have a summer camp, and we got to show them what it was like to be a woman in the fire service and what it was like to be in the fire service. And that is
Yeah.
inspiring people to then aim and have a goal to enter the fire service. But it's not lowering the standard to get them in and then inspire people. It's inspiring people from the
Yeah.
floor, from the ground up. And that I think has to be the model that is used for our
Yeah, and I think,
organization.
like, Jen, my wife, she's a firefighter, and when she first, like, went into this years and years ago, it was she did, I think, the cop physical in Vancouver and a fire physical, and, like, she wasn't there, so she worked her ass off, like, got into CrossFit,
Mhm.
started doing a bunch of stuff, and worked to achieve that goal.
Yes.
Not She didn't hope that the bar got lowered. She worked her ass off to get to that point of where she could succeed, and, like, I think that's important because once they've worked that hard and they get to that standard, they appreciate it that much more, and they're more likely to stay at that standard. You get these people
Hmm.
that come in that just scrape by, right? Get the test, and they have
Hmm.
no reason to stay fit within the fire service. And that's tough, right? Like, how do you motivate that person? They're in union environments, they're protected. Like,
Yeah.
there's no penalty for not doing that other than, I guess, shame and failure on the
Hmm.
job. Like, but that sucks because now the people that are paying you to protect them, they're at risk because of that, right? So you're
Yeah.
not doing any favors, like, to the public by having that.
And to the other people that they work with. I think there's and to themselves. The people that get on with a lower standard,
Mhm.
I don't think they're going to garner the respect of their coworkers to the same extent. People around them are going to be like, "Ah, the only reason you're here is because the standards were lower." They're going to potentially think of those people that got on as not competent firefighters. And when you have people in our job, and it's hard to explain to people that aren't in these situations, but when you're in a house with someone else, you feel that trust at that moment. You feel that your life is vulnerable and their life is vulnerable, and the trust that you have knowing that they're going to get you out of a bad situation. It matters in those moments. I think to some extent the crux of what it means, like the brotherhood, right? That's tossed around in the fire service. Really, the true ethos of that is I'll lay down my life for you and you'll lay down your life for me.
Yeah.
So, but you have to have trust that the person across from you, will do that and can do that, and can do it with some form of confidence. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think that we have to come back to a form of merit and inspire anyone that wants.
Yeah.
The beautiful thing about the fire service, man, is we've been there. It doesn't matter who is a firefighter. Everyone comes from different walks of life and different backgrounds. When they're there because they deserve to be there, they're a brother,
Yeah.
right? They're in that brotherhood. It doesn't matter their background. We want anyone that can come in and do the job and do it well and be there as a brother. It doesn't matter the background, but
Yeah.
I
No,
agree.
I agree. It's that fire family, and everybody's there to protect each other. And yeah, it's so funny too because we'll toss around the thing like brotherhood and stuff, and people from the outside, I think you have females in the service, and that doesn't bother them. Like you call it like the brotherhood or firefighter or fireman. Fireman's the funniest one because they'll be like firewoman, and they make such a big deal. It's just like is it a firefighter or whatever. Or even if you call someone a fireman, it's not a big deal. Like Jen doesn't care at all. It's
It's
kind of funny.
semantics.
Yeah, and it's the
It's
people I think external that make up this big thing of like, well, it should be
yeah,
this or it should be that, and like
yeah,
I think
yeah,
you're in that environment, you truly understand it, and
yeah,
yeah, you have to really be a part of it to get it. And I think
yeah.
it's a tough part about having these external like influences of like, you need to have this and XYZ and this diversity, blah, 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 blah. It's like, yeah, hire good
Hmm.
people, whoever they
Yeah.
are, and have the best service you can possible.
And the problem is that kind of what you have, like you said, the people that are doing the job, the firefighters understand that,
Mhm.
but everyone else who's in charge of hiring, if you look from like a city standpoint, a lot of these people aren't part of the brotherhood. They aren't part of that inner workings. And so they're going to actually pick up on all this noise for lack of a better word, and try to bring those policies into the fire service because they don't get it.
Yeah.
And that's the struggle that I think all fire departments are kind of up against.
Yeah. And that goes kind of to recruiting too, because we were talking about the other day, there's a hiring going on at work for new people. And we saw what happens when you go full bureaucratic, like what the city wants, admin, like XYZ test, blah, blah, blah. And then you can see the opposite side of it. What happens when like the people within want to run it and that. And I think it's finding that balance of like what is
Mhm.
appropriate and what is good and makes sense from a city perspective, but also what makes sense from a fire perspective of you're in it. You want to have people that you trust, that you can work with, that are good people, and we get a better sense of that from like working with these people and the ride alongs and like being part of that interview process where I see some other agencies like that it's purely external, like fire has no control over it. It's just admin, city hiring or council or whoever.
Mhm.
It's that management piece and they hire who they think fits best. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. Right. And I think it's a
Yeah.
lower success rate than if the floor is involved in that process.
Yeah. There's a lot to it. It's not just, you can have great interviews and you can meet the physical standard. You could blow past the physical standard. You could be the number one guy. And
Mhm.
then you get them in the hall and you just can't work with that person. They're just
Yeah.
a toxic person. Yeah, they ace their interview. Yeah, they're a super fit person. They can, but there's more to it. You have to live. We live with these people. We spend a lot of our life with each other. We're working 24-hour shifts at a time. It's like
Mhm.
you have to be able to live with these people, and that's an aspect of it that's kind of hard to measure in a tangible way, other than just having them in on a ride along and getting to know them as a human being.
And it's interesting too, because I've noticed from years and years of hirings that the person that it is this for me anyways, that I think is usually like the number one, the best, the all-star that I want to work with. They're still good people and like they're good to work with, but it's usually the people I think in the middle that I have the best relationship with and that I find are more successful, right? Like it's the person that maybe they're not the all-star, but they're very well-rounded and they're a good person, and it takes time to kind of develop that relationship. And it's a tough environment to be in, right? Like that fire culture is it's tough to break in and get that trust, and yeah, it takes time.
Yeah. the growth mindset of a person, I think, is one of the most important attributes of
Yeah.
someone coming in. You know, you need someone that has an attitude that they're going to show up to their shift and they're going to find ways to better themselves and better people around them too. You know,
Mhm.
it's far too often, and you'll see it. Even around competitions. When you have promotions and this and that, sometimes people are focused on other people, and you want people that are focused on their own growth, focused on how can I be better, how can I lift other people up. When I look
Mhm.
at, there was a period of time when you and I were, for lack of a better word, you can say it's competing, but
Mhm.
there's a lieutenant positions that open up in limited numbers, and you get more people applying for a position than there are positions. We took an attitude, we're on the same shift, and it was, let's set each other up for success and make each other the best versions of ourselves that we can be going into this. Right. It
Yeah.
would have been very easy for us to shell up and be like, wow, we're competing and I'm going to hold knowledge from you and you're going to, that's
Yeah.
not,
Little
that's
do
not
you
a good
know,
way
I
to
just
do
threw you under the bus to the chief the entire time.
it. Yeah, exactly. Behind my back every second of the way.
Oh, yeah, I'll stop what you've done. No, but you're absolutely right. Of like, it's that, I think Jake said it best. It's that we over me mentality of like a rising sea raises all ships, right? And if you have that
Yes.
mentality of like, I want to push this department forward, and it's that big mindset I think we've talked about before of like, for me, it was switching of like, this isn't about me anymore. This is about us and how can we move forward and what's best for us and how do I like it's less selfish and more about us, right? And I think there has to be that big mindset shift with that to kind of gain it, right? And it's again what you said of like that support piece of supporting people around you and not trying to hold it in. And like obviously you're not. I think it was easier for us because there were more spots, so I felt like we could share openly about everything. But even I think if it was just one, it would still be like, hey, what are you looking at? What are you studying? What are you preparing for? And I think we'd have that open relationship. And if you're truly the best candidate, you don't need to hide stuff and you don't
Hmm.
need to, right? Like you don't need to have this little trick of like, oh, I know XYZ and that person doesn't, or I heard that it's going to be this, but I'm not going to tell them that. It's like,
Yeah.
no, if you're truly the best person, then it shouldn't matter what you know, and it should be even playing field, and the best person will rise to the top, right?
Yeah. And to us, you know, to the fullest extent, you want always the best people in
Mhm.
the positions for your fire service, and that should be what you want. And if you're not the best person, then hey, you're not the best person. So it is what it is. Be better, learn,
Yeah, and
be
I had
be
this discussion
prepared.
with one of the firefighters that he it's a tough balance to play too, even like depending on what level you're at, of how much you contribute and how much you go forward and like how you play the game. And it's finding that line of like, how can I add value without pissing people off, but without holding myself back, right? And
Hmm.
it's an interesting game to play. Of I'm reading the 48 Laws of Power right now. Have you ever read that?
I haven't. Oh.
And it's interesting because it talks about you can outshine the person above you, um, because that'll piss them off and create resentment from them. But it's also like pushing yourself forward and like finding that sweet spot to be in of like, I'm adding value, I'm pushing us forward, but I'm giving this person the credit because I don't need it. Like it's not for
Hmm.
me. If I give them the credit and I help them move forward, then they'll help me move forward. And it's like it's that not selfish approach to it. It's like I'm giving this forward to help everybody, and in turn, it kind of helps push me forward, right? Which is an
I
interesting kind of
like that.
perspective. Yeah, yeah,
I read a book about leadership in the fire service, and it was talking about from the top down. So it's kind of what you're saying, but it was like, as a leader, you know, the wins are your crew's wins,
mm,
and the faults are your fault.
yeah,
And if the crew is wanting to have the success up to the leadership, and the leadership is wanting the success down to the crew, then everyone's winning. Right? Like
yeah.
that's kind of a cool
And
way to
and the
think
crew
about it.
respects you so much more if you're able to take that too and just be like, "That was me, like, I'll eat that." And even to go as far as, like, if someone fails on scene or something doesn't happen, it's like, "Shit," like, it's not your failure, it's my failure to teach you that. Like, I
Yeah.
didn't set you up for success in that position, so that's on me. Like, And I think there's a certain point, and in Jocko Extreme Ownership, they kind of talk about that. Eventually, you have to fire a person because you can only help them so much. Like, but at the same turn, it is on you to like try your best to lead that person to success and set them up as properly as possible.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, it's a fine line. Yeah, I keep it on the fire track. I switched my dorm over last night, and that's always the weirdest thing. I don't know how often you've switched dorms, but
Many times, 4 times.
yeah,
It's
it's
horrible.
the worst part is figuring out where the light switch is. It's good now that we have automatic lights to come on, but I remember pitch black, tones would drop, and you're just scrambling for that light switch. You don't know what it is because you're in a new dorm, new spot, or you roll over trying to get out of bed and you just smoke the wall. Like
Hitting the wall, 100%. I've
it's
done that
awful.
many times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The struggles, man.
Yeah, you go to work and you just walk into the wrong room. You're like, "Not my room."
You're like, okay, gonna go there. It's like those funny little habits that you just got to break out of. But yeah,
Yeah. So where did you move to? Which room are you in now?
I'm by the window on the highway there. It's so cold,
Uh,
man. It was freezing last night. It was minus 30 in I don't know what that is in Fahrenheit, but Celsius. And it's like you're right by the window and I was freezing. So I'm gonna like get the sweatsuit out, the European
that's
tracksuit, wear that to bed.
that's awesome. I often find I'm too hot, so
Yeah, I know.
that's
I'd
that's
rather be
actually
cold than
it's
hot.
a good
So
problem to have.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm happy about it. Like that was my original dorm and I'm stoked on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna be sweet. It's gonna be
Yeah.
sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah,
100%, man. It's fire hall shenanigans. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. What have you been ski patrolling much?
Yeah, I was out when it was freezing, dude. It was like minus 30 out there. It was brutal. But
Yeah. Any crazy
yeah.
injuries or anything happen lately?
Yeah, we had a patroller break his leg like 5 minutes into a shift the other day. Yeah. And
Jesus.
again, it was cold, man. It was like minus 30 first thing in the morning. And he had a complete tib fib break.
Wow.
Um, and it goes from like we're concerned about their leg to they're they're in a really cold environment going into a shock situation, and
Yeah.
they're just when we got him, like, and it was on the backside of the mountain, so when we got him to kind of our patrol hut on the backside, he was just shaking, like convulsing, right, just so cold. But we had
Jeez.
to get him all the way around the mountain still to the front side to AHS.
Yeah.
And at that point, we got a hot water bottle going, stuck it down his shirt, got some blankets on him, and then it's like, let's go, right? And
Yeah.
it was, there was this extra kind of like intensity with it being, one of the patrollers, and
Hmm.
it's the same sort of, frantic sort of intensity you see on a fire ground when a firefighter is injured, or,
Yeah.
building collapses on them. It's like, this is my brother. This is someone that is on,
Yeah.
like you have this relationship with these people. It's this extra sort of intensity around the whole situation. The cold when you're patrolling is another factor. It's another hazard that's as much of a hazard as anything else.
Mhm.
And yeah, it's interesting to deal with those variables. You feel a little bit vulnerable out there because you don't have all the resources like you do in our sort of environment. You're out on the side of a mountain, and you kind of just have your hands and a med pack, and you got to call for equipment, and you're in
That's gotta be
steep
tough too
environments. Snow.
for that guy. Like that's his job, and then going down.
Yeah,
Like that's a tough thing, right? That's probably difficult for
yeah,
him to
and
kind of
that
go
was
through.
his job. Like this guy was a pro patroller, so that was his. That's his whole job. And then
Yeah,
you
he's
break your
paid
leg,
for that.
you're out. You're done for the season. Like,
God, that sucks.
yeah.
Jeez.
It's ski injuries are gnarly, dude. I did not know. I think I said this in one of the earlier podcasts, but I didn't know people were messing themselves up as frequently as they are on the mountains,
Yeah,
and
like
it
you never
happens
really see
every
it because it's so isolated. You see the lift shut down every now and then. I've heard the odd one, and yeah, but when you told me that, like it's just all day. Like that's
That's
crazy.
all day, every day,
That's
breaks
crazy.
every day,
Yeah, that's crazy.
but
Oh.
it's fun.
Do you,
So
do you find more skiers or snowboarders getting injured?
probably skiers, but I think that's because skiing is now flipped and there's more
Yeah.
skiers on the mountain.
Do you-
Back when we were teenagers, snowboarding was the thing, and snowboarding, I think, outnumbering skiers. There was a period
Oh
of
yeah,
time,
yeah.
and
It
it's
was a
flipped
cool
right
thing.
back. There's way
Interesting.
more skiers now than there are boarders by a large margin, for
Huh?
sure. Yeah,
Do you
yeah.
find the injuries to be as gnarly as one or the other? Like what's the worst?
Snowboarding has a lot of like wrist injuries and collarbone because they
Mm,
catch their edge and they fall forward and then they just
yeah,
like
yeah,
place their hands out and kind of like support. Whereas knee skiing, I find you'll get a lot of knees, you get a lot of twisting, stuff
yeah.
like that. I've had there's two people last year that slid across their ski and cut through their artery in their leg and needed a tourniquet because their ski wedged sideways in the slow and they slid over the edge of their ski.
Jeez.
So that's kind of gnarly as well. Yeah, yeah.
That's
Yeah,
crazy.
it's all sorts.
I've seen
Yeah,
like, I
yeah.
have an Jen's brother, not like sliding on the ski, but he lost a ski. He was going pretty fast and ended up sliding into somebody, and it was either a pole or the back of the binding, like got him right in the bicep.
Oof.
And he didn't know. He was so worried about her. He's like, "Oh, I'm so sorry, blah, 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 blah." And then she's like, "You're bleeding." And you see out of the cuff of his jacket just like drips of blood. And
Yeah,
he's like, "Fuck." And like we're at the
yeah,
top of the
yeah,
hill. So Jen and him go hauling down. And sure enough, it was like, yeah, he hit something main, like an artery or something. And they had to like put a lot of pressure.
yeah.
And it was kind of funny because it was at a smaller resort, and the medic in there didn't really know what to do, and was kind of like saw the blood and was like, and Jen from like years of lifeguarding and like firefighting and stuff, who's just like takes control of the situation. It's just like,
It's
all right, give me this, give me that. Like we're doing this, blah, blah. Just goes to
dude,
town.
it's a weird environment on the ski patrol because the pro patrollers, a lot of them are young kids, dude. They're like 18
Mm,
years old. They're fresh out of high school. They love skiing. They love the outdoors. They're like, ski patrol will be sweet. But I don't think they've thought about the trauma that
yeah,
like you're going to see a ton of trauma. So you see these young 18-year-old kids and you can tell it's their first time seeing something messed up.
yeah.
And they're like, just,
They're just,
whoa, like,
just shell shocked, just
what am
staring,
I,
you know,
what
like,
am I doing
holy
here? Right.
shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Geez, what did I saw that a meme the other day on that. It was like, "Don't worry, ma'am. I've done CPR on a mannequin. Like, I'm ready for that.
Oh,
I'm
that's
ready.
so
I'm
true.
prepared." Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's funny. Supplements. Let's go into some supplement stuff. I got a
Yeah.
new supplement regime. I was wondering
Ooh,
if you have one, what you're taking, what you recommend.
I'm pretty
What's
basic,
Joshy
dude.
doing?
So yeah, so my morning routine is my AG1. So I'll take
Oh,
that
yeah.
first thing. I've been on that for a few years now, and it's got. I view that as like a set it and forget it type thing. It's like
Is that like your multivitamin, would you say? Like
it's a
something similar?
multivitamin.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's well studied. It's I know the ingredients are good. I just don't need to think about it. I just have
Yeah.
it, enjoy it. It's good. And then the only other things I take is I'll take fish oil,
Yeah.
um, creatine daily,
Yeah.
vitamin D, and protein powder. And I'll take
Mm,
some magnesium before bed.
yeah.
That's it. It's pretty basic, pretty bare bones. But I think that those supplements have the studies to back up why I'm taking them, and
Mhm.
there's a lot of supplements out there, and some people are like, yeah, I sometimes feel better, this that, but the data shows that these supplements are actually doing something, right?
Yeah.
How about you?
Very similar. I've tried to nail it down this year of like what I'm taking, be consistent
Yeah.
with it. Um, I I am bad. I've got trying to get better at eating like a variety of vegetables and fruit and stuff like that to get those like micronutrients in. So I've gotten into I'm not as bougie as you with the AG1, so I have a multi that I take just to
Mhm.
kind of, I find it's multivitamins get shit on a lot, but I think there's also some benefit to that. It's not going to replace a shitty diet, but it can help enhance like an okay, good diet, right? You're
It
getting
can
those little extra bits.
supplement.
Supplement them up.
Shitty
They supplement, they
they
supplement, right?
supplement the diet.
Which I think people take them as these miracle cures. God, I'm
Yeah.
dumb. And it's not, right? You're not gonna all of a sudden feel like 1,000% better. It's just like helping you slowly improve it and move forward. And it was the YouTuber Will, I forget what his name is. He's a pretty well known like fitness YouTuber. He
Mm.
went and saw this, like the ageless people, the people like trying to reduce
Oh,
their age number and blah blah blah. You
yeah,
know
the
what I'm talking
Brian
about?
Johnson guy or whatever. Yeah.
So he went to this lady who's like, I think she's mid-50s, but she has a internal health score of like she's in her 30s or something like that.
Wow. Yeah.
And she does like some sweet drinks and blah blah blah, but she also kind of gave the realist approach of it is like, hey, look, like you take a multivitamin, it'll help you out, right? Fish oil is a big one for like, I think people would take fish oil for joint and like try to help relieve that
Mhm.
before, but I've started taking fish oil more for the like, I think it reduces the chances of dementia, it's mental health stuff and cardiovascular stuff.
Mhm.
So like
Mhm.
long term that. Then
Yeah,
I also
for the fish oil, before we continue on the fish oil, I've heard that you have to be careful about the source of it.
mm,
Did you do any research into figuring out which fish oil you were
yeah,
taking?
I went with a bougie one. Where the fuck is it? I'd have to look up the brand of it, but you have to go with like a clean, pure one. Because
Mhm.
and you can tell, like when you take a fish oil and you're like you got to eat after, of course. Because if you don't eat food, all you're just burping up fish oil anyways. But when you take a really shitty fish oil, like and you just taste it throughout the day
Yeah.
constantly, like that's your body not absorbing it. And from what
Mm.
I understand, and that's just kind of like it's not quality. Whereas I think you have to find a quality source for that. And
Mhm.
the other ones are, I got a piece of fuzz here I get rid the other ones, vitamin D, which I think is super
Yeah.
crucial for us in our environment. Like
Yeah.
from what I understand is during the winter, we don't at all in where we live get any vitamin D. Even if you're outside, you don't retain any vitamin D in the wintertime. So
Mhm.
you need like a high level to kind of increase your reserves, and that helps with like stress management and immune system function and stuff like that. And the other one that my acupuncturist got me on, and he's like traditional Chinese, like that
Mhm.
style, is zinc.
Mhm.
And so zinc, I
Mm.
guess, is huge for immune system, and it's also for men's health. So zinc will help like just men's function, and like I think it won't like increase your testosterone, but it helps just men function a little better, if
I've
that
heard
makes
that.
sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's kind of the stack I take in the morning, and then in the evening I'll do a magnesium, which is crucial. And I got to get better about taking creatine because I know like the benefits are of it. The benefits are proven. I think if you consistently take it, it just helps. It's huge. And then the other one you got me on, which I take nightly, is the Metamucil. That's like
Yeah,
that's like the that's like the goat supplement in my opinion. It's so good. If
Yeah.
you've never taken Metamucil, that is like,
It's
it's
wild.
life-changing. It's life-changing, Josh.
It's
I,
wild.
at work, I had to bring in a new container because 'cause I've been using yours for the past, like, 6 months, and I think I've emptied half of it. So you're free to take it from mine because Nick and I just, like, pillage from it.
That's just the fire hall right there. Once
Oh,
in a
yeah.
while, you go into yourself and you're like, "I swear I had more of this."
Oh, yeah. Definitely have
Whether
lost
it's
some protein
toothpaste,
powder.
protein powder, it
Yeah.
doesn't matter what it is.
Dude, anything is up for grabs at the fire hall. That's like I don't lock my stuff because 'cause I'm worried about someone stealing it. I'm worried about, like, someone using my toothbrush or using my runners or, like,
Yes.
something stupid
Yes.
like that. Like,
Yes.
it's not the
I've used your rug many times. I hope you know that.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. It's like you at a certain point, you just have to accept it, like, "Well, it is what it is." It's just such a
Yeah.
funny thing of, like, "Why did you
Yeah.
lock it up?" "Oh, it's so no one puts glitter inside my frigging shoes. That's why I lock my locker." Right? It's like, "Oh
Totally.
my god." It's so
Oh, man.
ridiculous.
Dude, you are about to move over to what I would consider the frat house of the fire department.
Oh,
You know?
yeah. The Animal House? God.
Yeah,
It's
yeah. A shift is another beast,
yeah.
and just as a brother, I want you to be strong, Derek. I want you to be a strong human being,
Yeah.
and
They've been preparing me mentally at work, and I've been like I don't know whether it's just I'm over being on my shift, like, I'm not over it, but, like, emotionally preparing myself by just shitting on everybody around me, or that's my way of coping and, like,
yeah,
preparing myself of just, like, being as toxic as possible. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, just create the toxicity now, just bring yourself up to that level.
Yeah, exactly. It's easier to go up there and come back down, right? So yeah, it'll
Oh,
be
yeah.
interesting, man. It's always funny working with new people. Now in the position where I'm managing new people and just how you approach that and how you kind of go into their world. It's
Mhm.
not them coming into your world, it's you inserting yourself in their world and like trying to help guide,
Yeah,
right, in the best way possible and just being a part of it. So
yeah. 'Cause it's like
it's
they
gonna
have
be
their
interesting,
flow,
man.
right? It's like you can't come in as a C shifter and be like, "We're now gonna do things like C shift does it." Like, they're gonna do things drastically different, and it's
Yeah.
gonna be like,
Oh yeah.
even though you are, a lieutenant, it's like you still have to earn your keep in their
Yeah.
eyes too, right? It's like what's that saying? Respect is earned, not given.
Mhm. Yeah, and
And
it
I
it
think
helps that I've worked with some of these guys before, but there is that perception of the other crews. Like I get sent memes all the time and I find them of A shift doing workouts and it's just like dudes kissing each other or like another guy's sitting his nuts on someone else's face. Like that's just like the memes, right? And then C shift, I
Yeah,
get the ones about like stealing all the peanut butter or something stupid in
yeah.
the food and stuff like that. And then B shift is just the worst always. Like it's just the degenerates.
Oh, yeah, just the
Yeah.
degenerates. Yeah,
So
for
it's just
sure.
funny. These little ecosystems are so funny.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
yeah,
gonna be yeah, I don't know.
yeah, it'll be fun.
I'm excited for it, but at the same time, it's gonna be interesting.
When's your first shift? Isn't it coming up
Yeah, in a week here.
in a week? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, Godspeed, my friend.
They call you crying. Oh, that was so mean to
Yeah,
me.
you're mean.
What are you
I want
doing?
my
Yeah.
mom.
My captain's been joking. He's like, "Yeah, we're gonna play Flippy Cup all day, do a toga party later, just to prepare you for this." It's
Yeah,
just like, all right.
yeah,
It's a strange
yeah.
new world. Strange new
Just
world, man.
breathe. This too shall pass.
This too shall pass. Dude,
Yeah,
it's been freezing over the last like month and
yeah,
I'm kind of over it now.
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
like I'm just done. It seems like unrelenting,
It
but
is.
it's how are you coping with it?
Yeah. Well, I think we got like one more day. I think it's kind of like after today is the coldest, and then it gets tomorrow's still chilly but tolerable, and then it gets nice. Like after that, like I think we're actually gonna hit some double digits.
Yeah.
Um, you know, I was having this conversation with someone on the chairlift yesterday. I was skiing yesterday, and we were talking about kids and
Mm,
the kind of the benefit of kids growing up on skis outdoors in the cold and the resiliency that it builds. um yeah, I think back to myself in September, and
mhm.
I remember even when it was like down to like 2 degrees out, and I'm like, oh man, I'm cold, I'm uncomfortable, I almost felt a bit weak. And the other night I was plugging my car, and in my t-shirt it's like minus 27, and I'm just like, whatever, right? Like it sucks, but there's a bit of like the switch that goes in the middle of winter when you're just
Yeah.
in the shit for a while, where you can feel your body becoming more resilient to the cold. Doesn't mean I'm happy about it. I think
Yeah.
all people are a little bit pissed off, but I think that their resiliency is a bit higher. And
Yeah.
I think there has to be a difference between a kid that grows up in California versus a Canadian kid that grows up on the prairies or something like that in the cold weather. There's got to be
Yeah.
something just from like a all around mental toughness and resiliency that the cold gives you.
I would agree, man. I think it's like as much as I'm over it, and I'm like, I don't want to be cold anymore. And I'm going on vacation to Maui in like a couple weeks. I'm stoked on that just to get out of this shit. You just learn at a certain point. It's like, oh, it is what it is. Like you gotta bundle up. You just gotta deal with it. Like the dogs are pissed off. They're miserable because they can't go outside. But it is what it is, and you just have to live it, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But
It's almost
when,
unbelievable though how cold it gets. Like
dude,
when you're there and everything's frozen, we can't wash our trucks.
I know.
We fought that fire a few weeks back, and when I left the house, my mask was just frozen. Like I couldn't see anything,
Mm,
and the guys couldn't do bottle changes on me because they were frozen. So I had to actually
yeah,
get a whole new pack because like they couldn't get the bottle off. Like, and then I had to wait to go in the house for the ice to melt off my visor, and then I could actually see better in the
Cool.
smoky house than I
Just a
could
window
outside.
scraper across your
Dude,
your
it's
lens.
water. But if it's an ice rink, people's
Oh,
gear is frozen. It's firefighting in that
it's
environment
miserable,
is
man.
wild. It's
Oh,
miserable. It's
it's
absolutely miserable. Yeah,
miserable.
it's
Yeah, I went
misery.
to some sprinklers broke last night, and I was in thank God I was in a car wash. Like, sprinklers, best place for sprinklers to pop is a car wash,
Yeah, for
and
sure.
it's just flooding in there. So I go in, come out, and just like, again, iced up helmet, iced up boots,
Yeah,
like you're sticking to the pavement as you're walking. It's
yeah.
just like
I
such a
yeah.
shitty environment.
I had a thought about, like, the decom process in that cold weather because we didn't. Like
Oh,
you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
you just like, what do you mean? What, are you gonna spray us down with a hose? No, you're
Yeah, like,
not. Like,
I'm stripping my gear and putting a Tyvek suit on and my boxers and
mm,
-30,
you're
like,
getting in the truck and you're going back to the hall, and it is what it
yeah.
is, but it's not ideal,
You just
but
gotta, like,
it's
like, garbage bag yourself at that point and just you know what I
yeah,
mean? Just wrap it
yeah.
up because how do you manage that? Like, unless you have an RV or something dedicated to that or a trailer and you can ship people around in, like, what are you doing?
No, like,
That's
Quinn and I
tough.
were freezing. We were in our gear, but as soon as you're soaked, you're drenched on the inside, and then as soon as
Yeah.
you stop moving and the cold hits, like, you're sitting there, like, shivering in your gear, you're
Yeah, "Put me
mad.
back in the fire. Put me back in the
Yeah,
fire."
yeah, send me in. Put me
Yeah.
in, coach.
Got a burn barrel or something? God.
Yeah, yeah, no kidding. But no, I am looking forward to the warmer weather. I'd be absolutely, lying if I said I wasn't. It's gonna be, it's
You
gonna
know
be
what
nice
I
to have
keep
a bit of a
getting is
break.
these, like, these ads on Instagram or not ads, but, like, people post about countries paying people to go live there at their small villages that are, like, dying off. Do you see those
Mm.
ever?
Dude, I haven't. That's crazy.
So, I think there's a place in Italy, like a small town in Italy that was paying you it was like 30 grand to move there. It would give you a house to live in and a couple other things basically, but it was just trying to like attract people because their village is slowly dying and they just need more people there. And then I saw one the other day, I think it was Switzerland, somewhere like that, which isn't optimal because I think probably just as fucking cold as here. But what was they would pay you if you had a family of 4, you'd basically make 70 grand a year just to live there and whatever else like you made on top of that, which is crazy that places are offering that.
Dude, if I worked virtually,
Yeah.
I would take that up in a heartbeat. I would go live with Starlink in some Italian village making 70 grand a year and my virtual income of
Yeah, dude.
whatever I'm doing. Like, I have a
Oh,
buddy
yeah.
that makes like really good money with his YouTube channel. He's got like, 1.5 million followers, whatever, making great
Mhm.
cash, USD, and he lives in Tuscany. And I'm like, dude, what are you doing?
Yeah,
Go
why are
live
you still
somewhere
here?
be
Not
like
and
closer to
not
mine.
Tuscany, like the fancy Tuscany, like in Calgary, like shitty Calgary. Like, what are
Calgary,
you doing
Tuscany.
here?
Yeah,
Like, "Well, Tuscany
yeah.
sounds nice." No, no, not this Tuscany. Like, you don't
No,
wanna be in this
no.
Tuscany.
Go live
Yeah, that
anywhere. Go
I know, and that's tough. Like, if you had somewhere like the Bahamas or something that did that, I would almost jump on that, even be in the position we're in of like, "You know what? I might go there for like 50
yeah,
grand a year and just like live the dream, warm weather, cool environment, like just chill," right? That's what
yeah,
you're like
yeah,
people aim to retire in those places, so why not just live there like right
yeah,
now? You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah. Well, man, with if you cash in your pension right now, you might get a couple $100 a month. You could go.
Pass in the pension, all the revenue from the podcast will be set, brother.
Yeah, let's go. Let's
Let's
go.
go.
Go to the
Just on a beach, like,
Bahamas.
let's relocate to the beach and just do it from a beach, man.
Podcast in the Bahamas. I'm
Perfect
in.
specimen, Bahamas. That's the dream right there.
Oh,
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah. What else you got for me?
Well, um, we can kind of round it out with a couple things. I think one thing I wanted to touch on is how we spend our time, and we only have so much time in every day, and sometimes I almost find I'm like it's like paralysis by analysis,
Yeah.
where you have a book you want to read, you have podcasts you want to listen to, you want to stay culturally up to date, you've got some videos, maybe you want to play a video game,
Mhm.
and you almost like you do start doing one thing, like I should be doing that, I should be doing this, I should be doing that, or you feel guilt doing one thing. There's people that will shit on people that play video games, but they'll watch hours of sports,
Yeah.
and vice versa, or whatever the case may be. But I guess my question is, how do you choose on what you're going to spend your time doing? Do you plan it out? Do you say, I'm going to read for this many minutes every day? I'm going to
Mhm.
give myself this much time to play a video game. I'm going to do, or do you just kind of say, I feel like doing this, so that's what I'm going to do? Do you schedule it, or do you go by intuition? Do you ever feel guilt when you're doing one thing but not another thing?
I think a way in the past I have, and I think a way around that I've found is, like, planning your day out and setting objectives. I think I mentioned in the past one, but, like, I have certain goals throughout the day that I wanna hit of, like, read in the morning or read for 20 minutes, work out for 20 minutes at least, do a load of laundry, and, like, if you hit certain benchmarks, whatever it is, like, whatever your life is, there's things throughout the day that just help make you feel like you've accomplished something, and if you hammer those out in, like, an hour, then you're free to do whatever you want guilt free. I think as long as you're intentional with that time, like I purposely, after the kids go to bed, will go up and play video games for like an hour, hour and a half. Just like my decompression time, my alone time. Jen just does her thing, like makes whatever crafts, soap, like just does her thing. And then we come back together and then watch Netflix and just chill. And there's no guilt surrounding that because that's just like, that's your release. And I think if you're
Hmm.
intentional about how you pursue that and not just like in the past, sometimes when the kids are at school, I'll degen and just play video games for 5, 6 hours and accomplish nothing. And they get home and then it's like, okay, now I have to do this and make food and try to do this and like try to, fit it all in when I could have just like, when you hammer those certain objectives out of the way, then there's no guilt attached to what you're
Mm.
doing. Right. If that makes sense. Like that's how
Yeah,
the way that
it's
I've
like being
approached it.
productive early.
Yeah, and just like I think just having a plan, like if you plan and know like what you need to hit, it's so much better rather than just kind of floating through the day and just like create a
Yeah.
system that works. Like what
Do
is
you go
your
to bed with a plan for your next day?
no, like well, most of my day is structured fairly similar, so I kind of have a good idea. Like sure it changes with, like kids swim practice whatever else, but I always wake up, start coffee, let the dogs out, and read for 20 minutes. And that just like that structure of like starting the day off well and then having the same thing for breakfast, like figuring out what breakfast is and like knowing what I'm going to have just because through repetition and what I like in that system, I find sets you up better than just like, when you wake up really late and you're just trying to catch up for the day. I
Mhm.
hate that. And like I can't
Yeah.
operate in that system and
You
environment.
feel like you're behind all day. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's just like you're just trying to catch up, and you're like, "Hey, what is it now?" And you just don't feel good. And I'm a big list person. Like I'll write shit out, and that
Yeah.
just helps like
Yeah.
clear it from my mind. It's like journaling. You journal, and it's just like you don't think about it anymore. For
Mhm.
me, that's
Mhm.
lists and like vacation. That's how I don't stress about traveling far away. It's like, hey, I have all the lists of everything we need to pack and whatever else. Like we're good. Like
Mhm.
I don't have to worry about that now. Like it's there.
Would you consider yourself a man of routine?
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah. I
Yeah.
think I think I would go crazy if I didn't know, like, have consistency. That's one thing that I've found in the last couple of years that helps me succeed is just having and I think people get pigeonholed into, like, I need to do this. You see that with kids, like people raising kids of like, they need to be in here. They need this and they need this. And it's like, well, there needs to be some flexibility in that. But as long as you have more broad, like clear, realistic expectations, like we want to get them to bed early. We want this is the system. Like we're always
Mhm.
going to give them a bottle and read a book before bed. Like that consistency is huge. You can
Mhm.
take that. And if you're on vacation, you can adapt that there and you can adapt it to wherever, but if you're always like, this person needs to have this in this time at
Mm.
exactly this, you kind of limit yourself. And if you fail and fall outside of that, now it's a failure, right? Whereas if you keep them broad enough where you can still succeed, but there's flexibility in it, then
Mm.
you allow yourself some leeway, if that makes sense. Like that's how
Yeah,
I
yeah,
approach it.
you
I don't know how you approach it.
routined with flexibility. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah. Like, are you very similar in that regard or do you?
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah, I agree with you 100%. If I sleep in or if I don't get my tasks done early in the day, it feels like my whole day gets a bit derailed. I feel like I'm
Mm,
chasing something when there's no need to chase something. And I also feel like time moves differently when you start your day productively. If I get a bunch of things done and bang them out quickly, it feels like time slows down a little bit. Where if I have a list of things looming, I feel like time speeds up,
Mhm.
right? And so just checking off the things that are simple tasks, prepping my oatmeal for the next day, getting my workout done and out of the way,
Yeah.
um, unloading the dishwasher, like those simple things, like they actually hold space in your mind.
Yeah.
And to clear that, it's like, oh, okay, it opens things up a bit. I have more time now, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, it's time on a day-to-day basis. It's weird how time can actually speed up or slow down. But have you ever heard of something called chaos magic? Have you ever heard of that?
No.
So it's like
Is
it
it like
almost
Magic the Gathering, or what are we talking about? Like Pokemon
it's
cards?
I was having a chat with a buddy the other day, and it was about routine, and it was kind of a similar topic to this, and it's how routine is a double-edged sword. It allows you to get a lot done, but it
Mhm.
also sometimes speeds up your life in some way
Mm.
because every day looks the same to a certain extent. And if every day looks the same, there's not really those differences that help you put timestamps on your life. So all of a sudden, a month can go by because it was the same. There was nothing different. So
Yeah.
what's the difference between that month and the next month? When you throw a bit of chaos into the mix, it interrupts the time, and new opportunities and new paths in your life can emerge. Right? If you take the same
Mm.
route home from work every single day, and this is maybe not applicable to you, but because you're pretty
I
close.
I I
But
bike the other
you
way
know,
around. Yeah.
right? Someone comes, they go to work, they come home the same way, they go inside, they play the video games, they don't do anything. Their life, nothing's really going to change in their life. They're going to wake up
Mhm.
at 50 or 60, and they're going to say, "Well, that was my life." The guy that chooses to take a different way home, meet those coworkers after work,
Mhm.
run that race, do this thing. All of a sudden, they do that, and then new experiences all of a sudden happen. They meet new people, they have conversations. Have you thought of this? Hey, you should go try this. And all of a
Yeah.
sudden, their life begins to take all these different paths. But that's the magic in the chaos. And if you don't throw in a little bit of chaos into your life, you don't throw in a little bit of things that shake up the routine, your life will pass you by really quick. If you sprinkle in some chaos, we go run that ultra, you go vacation somewhere new,
Yeah.
you do something that's out of your comfort zone, the possibilities of your life all of a sudden open up. Doors will literally open up for you that couldn't have opened unless you chose to do those things to break up the monotony of your life.
It's interesting too because that dovetails back to what we're talking about the resilience piece of like you're creating more resilience to that chaos, right? The new experiences and like putting yourself out there, and it's yeah, I completely agree with that of like trying new stuff and going new places, and like it's nice to have the habits and like the consistency, but there also needs to be that variety within that, right? It's like the CrossFit of life, constantly varied, right?
Constantly varied. Performed at high intensity.
Performed at high intensity.
Hit that white
Oh
monster in you. Let's go, baby.
God. You're CrossFit daddy over there. Are you doing the open?
Probably. It's
Oh.
about this time every year where I start going through the Rolodex of excuses. And I literally, I'm like, well, my wrist hurts still, and this and that, and I'm training for this strength numbers, and it's just like I have no shortage of excuses, dude. I could read you probably a page, and at the end of the day, you probably just have to go do it. It's like,
Yeah. Just
you
pick it up.
know, it's like just do it. It's 3 workouts. Like you build up in your head to be like, oh, these are gonna hurt, blah blah blah. Man, I suffer all the time during workouts. It's like just do it. Don't
When
be
is it
a
starting?
baby. I think next week or something. I try not to look at it until I absolutely have to.
You just blocked it from your mind.
I
Uh,
I block it out as long as I can every year, and then at
well,
the last minute, usually sign
that's
up.
how the perfect specimen started was the trophy we have that you have hidden away somewhere in your vault
Yeah.
is
Oh, no,
that.
it's my prized possession. It's on my nightstand. I look at it falling asleep every night, actually.
Oh
I pat
god.
it on the head, yeah.
Where do you are you doing it at CrossFit Calgary? Are you gonna do them there?
Yeah, I'll probably just do them in the gym, yeah. I'll just do 'em right
Uh,
there, yeah. But I think it is time that we probably put the specimen up for grabs for
yeah,
in
do I need
some
to
way.
come kick your ass at CrossFit? Do the open
We
with you?
gotta I think you should. We need to think of something.
Yeah,
Even if you had I'm here's the thing. I am not training in
yeah,
CrossFit right now. I'm trying to hit strength numbers, and
yeah,
I've had goals my whole life, Derek, to hit certain strength numbers. I want a 2.5 time my body weight deadlift, a 2
yeah,
times squat, a 1.5 bench, and a 1 time strict press. I've wanted those numbers for years, and I finally came to the realization that I'm not going to hit those numbers unless I actually pursue it. And I'm on that train to pursue them. So when I'm doing this CrossFit Open, it's because it's going to capture kind of a snapshot of where my fitness is in that aspect at this time of my life, but I'm
yeah.
still pursuing the bigger goal of hitting those numbers.
Have you tried Ozempic just to lose weight so it's less of an increase? If you're 100 pounds, it's a whole lot easier to hit those numbers, right?
That's very true. Maybe I should try it. I'll just go on Ozempic.
Yeah.
That
Just
might
both
get me
take
the numbers
Ozempic and
fast.
just do the
You know what?
open.
Work smarter, not harder. Isn't that what they say?
I think so. I think that's what it is. I was thinking we should also do let's do perfect specimen golf challenges too. We can
Oh,
start putting
fun.
up for, you know,
Yeah.
put it on the line for
Yeah.
that too. And Vic and
Yeah.
I want to do food challenges too. What do you think? Do you think you could eat as many chicken nuggets as your score is in golf? So if you got
Oh my
100, do
god,
you think you
no.
could have 100 chicken nuggets over 4 hours?
Over during the golf?
Yeah, yeah, the whole time. So
The whole time.
you finish the hole and you have to eat that many chicken nuggets.
So we all bring like whatever we think our score is gonna be roughly, and then we
Yeah,
finish
like
the
you have to
whole
bring like
that
at least 300 chicken nuggets.
that Can you imagine? That's actually a hilarious challenge. That
Yeah,
would be horrible in every
perfect s
way.
perfect specimen food golf challenges coming your way soon.
I'd walk it. Vic would
You
still probably
have
ride the
to,
golf
man.
cart.
Like, I know he would ride the cart. You'd almost have to have 1 cart and, like, 1 like, just to carry stuff or, like, if you
Here,
get
we
too
need a
loaded,
cart for the nuggets, a nugget
and then
cart.
you have to walk off. Like, we have to take turns walking it off. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. Vic will just ride the nugget cart. He'd probably you know what? He's actually probably gonna eat more nuggets than he needs to.
Yeah.
Like, I think he'll be driving
Like,
and be like,
just
"I'm just gonna have
snacking.
just" he's just snacking in between his holes, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. I
It's
agree.
like, really, it's not gonna be a challenge
He's gone
for
power
Victor.
hungry. Victor, since I'm leaving, Victor has gone power hungry now. And I think it's partly because I empowered him to do so, but he is
Yeah.
just it is going
Just
straight to his head.
sees the
He's
pride and the
Oh,
glory of
yeah.
the
He's putting his fingers in all kinds of different bullet holes on scene now and just, like,
oh,
no
yeah.
resent no regard.
Victor with unlimited power. Wow.
Yeah, it's a scary thought,
Chancellor
man.
of our station.
We'll have to get Victor on here once because I think he'd be a hilarious guest.
Yeah, well, we need to have a guest appearance one of these days.
Yeah,
Well, that's an
yeah.
hour and 2 minutes, dude.
It was good. That's a wrap. Episode 5. Thank you for sticking around, if anybody stuck around this long for our
Thanks, Nana.
degenerate conversation. Thanks, Nana. Thanks, Speedy Dolphin 87.
Speedy Dolphin 27.
You're number 1.